So I wanna laugh while the laughing is easy. I wanna cry if it makes it worthwhile. I may never pass this way again. That's why I want it with you.
When he was like out of high school, he started a garbage collection service in San Diego.
Oh, yeah.
And he built it up. And I forget how many trucks he said he had at the end.
Wow.
20 maybe. And Waste Management came in and bought him out and said, you can't do this work for a certain number of years. And they flew him to Chicago, made the offer, he had to accept it, and sent him back home. He saw nothing of Chicago. And so he said, okay, I'll do coastal cleanup. So he started a coastal cleanup company that went from the Mexican border to the Canadian border.
Really?
And they came in and said, we want your company. And you can't refuse. And you can't do anything similar after this. So he said, okay. Then he got into cleaning septic tanks. He and his dad had put septic tanks in a lot of areas, including up on the res. And so he did septic cleaning and porta potties.
Did he start his own company with that too?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I'm not sure what happened to that. I think a bad marriage might have happened to that. And so he sold two or three.
But it was a lovely service. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, and I really thought, like Rashida said, I thought we were going to have a rainbow. We didn't, but I thought we were going to.
Oh, maybe we just didn't see it.
Oh, is that what it was?
Probably somewhere there.
Yes. Oh.
I talked with my daughter this morning. She works out Village of Oak Creek and we had a beautiful rainbow out there this morning.
Oh,
Well,
good.
there you go.
So
She
see,
got it.
the rainbow was there. Good.
I just wanted to, Mom and I have worked on Larry's obituary, which tells a lot of the highlights. So I think we're going to start there. And this will also be on the website later for anybody who cares to peruse it later. But in honor of Larry, a little bit about his life. So he was born near Springfield, Illinois, and he arrived in the Verde Valley in 1944. Then lived in and around Arizona, California, Oregon for most of his life, returning for good with my mom in 2018. Before his retirement, he was most recently involved in property management and built many successful businesses in his younger days. When they arrived, the family arrived by car, moving west for a drier climate because Larry suffered from rheumatic fever. When they got into town, they stopped on a wide spot down near Schnebly Hill, and they camped there for about 2 weeks until a lady came down and told them that they had to move because they were in the middle of the highway. They then settled in Yuma, where Larry attended elementary school at an almost all Native American school. Later, they moved to San Diego, where he graduated from Hoover High School. And shortly after graduation, he started his first business as a garbage collector. That got bought out by Waste Management, hence the Waste Management truck on our display. And he later started a coastal cleanup business, which also got bought out by Waste Management. So he did a lot of the work for them. His parents were active in the Salvation Army, and in high school, he was a drummer for the San Diego Band, even marching in the Rose Parade. One year, he marched in the parade first, did the whole route, got transported back to the end of it so he could march it again with a different band. So playing in two different bands. Yeah, got a lot of exercise back then. He was knowledgeable about and at various times active in many faiths, including Judaism, the Church of Latter-day Saints, and Catholicism. He learned about the Baha'i faith when he met my mom and was active in the Baha'i faith for the last 29 years of his life. And of the principles he especially held dear, the elimination of prejudices and the oneness of humanity. Very sociable. He could get a stranger's story in about 10 minutes. And my mom will say she could use the exact same words and not get anything, but Larry had a way of opening people up. If he knew your birthday, he would phone you to wish you well.
Yes.
Yeah, every year, all the time, right? How many? Right? Even if it wasn't your birthday. There are some people where you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to answer that call. But Larry was good. It was 5 minutes. Hi, how are you? Love you. Thinking of you. Talk to you later. So he would describe himself as the old man of the desert, partly coming from his family spending so much time at Quartzsite when he was growing up at the Apache Chief mine near there, where his family held a claim in the 1960s. One of his hobbies was carving and decorating walking sticks like this. There's a whole collection at home if you guys ever go over to Mom's house. He was also quite the storyteller, elaborating on basic truths of an experience to engage and amuse listeners. Mom's version of his courtship is relatively short and sweet, but his bordered on risque and was guaranteed to get a laugh out of anybody who listened. As he got on in years, he enjoyed reading. Some of his favorite books are up here, including Tony Hillerman, Zane Grey. Let's see, he would also do word search puzzles, and he really enjoyed feeding birds on the deck and watching them play.
Enjoyed what?
Feeding the birds on the deck, bird seed.
Okay.
He took great joy in interacting with his grandchildren in person or on Skype, in the case of my sister mostly. He was preceded in death by his parents and his sister, and he's survived by a daughter, Sandy Stack of Gilbert, my brother Vaughn, myself, my sister Valeska, our spouses, and all of our children. So with that, I'm gonna tell one story that's not written down, if I can make it through. You guys are so kind to me, but I was not so thrilled when Mom and Larry got married. I was about 14 years old, and as teenagers are, we like to have things our way. So I wasn't expecting Mom to meet anybody, fall in love with anybody, commit to anybody, have anybody come in my house and tell me what to do, but she did.
Mom wasn't expecting that either.
So I did not give Larry an easy time of it. And he's a pretty big personality. Like we clashed a lot in the beginning. And God, either as a joke or to teach me a lesson, I got really, really sick when I was in high school. And I couldn't function. I had to drop out. It was scary. And even though I treated him so badly, he dropped everything to make sure that I got better. I couldn't even walk as far as that pew over there. But I would try, and I wouldn't make it, and he would go get the car so he could bring me back home because I couldn't make it. He took me to Henry Mayo to figure out what was wrong with me. And slowly I got better, and I tell you what, from that moment on, I knew I at least could trust him. He was a good guy. He treated my mom and my family well. And he deserves all the love that we could give him. And that's all I'm going to say, because I've talked a lot today. But I would love to open it up for any other stories, true or not, about Larry. Mom, what can you say about the hats? And I think we have a mic somewhere if it helps the video.
So when the slideshow comes up, you will see him in his hats. He considered himself a cowboy. One of our early dates, in fact, with the family, we went out to Tonto Bridge, and he was telling us that, he was trying to point out a particular tavertine formation in the pond that kind of sort of looks like a cowboy hat. And he said, my dad and I came up here, and he took his hat and he threw it in there and left it. And they're never going to find out how that formation got made. But after we left that, I remember I think he gave either you or Val his camera for the day to do more photography, and you're quite the photographer. As we were headed back, there was just somebody that had horses and were offering rides through the forest, so we stopped and we went on a horseback ride, and the girls were not appreciative, but it was kind of nice to, you know. Didn't make it easy. And I'm sure he wore his cowboy hat that day too, but he, one of the scouts or guides, whatever, you know, said, well, how are we going through? And he said, well, you stay 5 paces behind your husband. We weren't married then. It was like second date. And I thought, yeah, right. But he said, no, that's not where she belongs. He said what? You know, that's not where she belongs. Next to me is where she belongs. And so, yeah, he, you know, in his youngest day, he rode a lot. He had his cowboy hats. I didn't bring the one he wears the most because that was his dad's, the one in that other picture. We got married, he was wearing a cowboy hat, a suit, but a cowboy hat. So that really is an identifying feature for him. He just, you know, thought of himself as an old cowboy and would occasionally go to rodeos and things like that. So there you go. And he loved turquoise. I can't believe how I'm finding turquoise all over the place now.
He loved the West, didn't he? Everything about the West. The West.
I didn't catch that.
The West. He loved the West.
Yeah, he really did. He really did.
Who else would like to share a story?
I don't have a story much, but
You want me to hold it?
no, I can enunciate.
It's for the camera. I'll just be here.
I worked nights for 30 years, all through the time my sister was married with Larry. I don't recall a whole lot of the stuff times because half the time I was hosing my eyes open going, okay, yeah, come on, Gert, wake up. But I do remember every time I just saw you guys, you were happy. And that is my memory. Besides getting phone calls of Larry. He made my sister happy.
Well, while it's already been mentioned about his staff making, I, for years, saw all the beautiful staffs that he had made, and some of them he carved into beautiful animals and stuff at the top, and I always thought I wanted one, but it wasn't until just a few years ago that I actually finally got one from him, and I'm so glad I did. And one other thing, when they worked down at the near Cornville, at that, the White Bear, oh gosh, storage area. We used to go out there and visit them occasionally, and it was great. And they had this cat that had a bunch of kittens, and we ended up, my daughter and I went out there, and she wanted one of them, and I sort of thought, well, that one's okay, but I like this other one. So we ended up bringing 2 kittens home with us, and they have lived their whole lives with myself, and then the one that I really liked went with Tanya when she left home, and when Kim left, she couldn't really take a cat with her, so I was stuck with her. And I still have this cat who's got quite a personality. But I thank you for loaning me those beautiful animals, so thank you.
I don't remember if it was when my mom and brother and I first moved to Arizona, then we went back to the Carolinas, then we came back to Arizona. But one of those times, I called the Baha'is, and I got Larry. I don't know how I got Larry, but I got Larry. And he was so lovely and welcoming and friendly, and it really helped us know that we wanted to come to Arizona because of Larry. Yeah. Yeah. We had a great conversation. It was longer than 5 minutes. He didn't cut me off when I was asking questions. So it was lovely. Thank you. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you. I know at least Mom's version of how they met. Maybe she'll fill in Larry's version, and then. So we had just moved from San Diego out here to Arizona. And, I think we were actually staying with you, Uncle Mark, for a little while we found a place to live. So one of the things that Larry, one of his businesses, he did property management for a long time. So we're out apartment hunting, and one of the apartments that we went into, Larry is sitting on the floor, leaning up against the wall, like with his book or his checklist or something, and his cowboy hat on, and in walks my mom and me and my sister, and we're just like, okay, cool, he's gonna show us the apartment. But to hear Larry tells it, as soon as he saw my mom, it like took his breath away, and he was like, that's it, that's the one. And so he's very persistent too. He's like, hey, let's go out sometime. And Mom's like, I am working and I got kids. And if I have any free time, I'm going to Baha'i meetings and that's it. And he said, all right, well, I'll go. So it was he took to her and he took to us really quickly. And he really identified with a lot of the principles that he found in the Baha'i faith. And 4 months later, he had declared as a Baha'i and they got married. And I got whiplash. That happened so fast. But, when you know, you know. When you know, you know. And I'll let her tell the Marilyn Monroe story.
So we have only a few items of his various occupations over here. He went to mortuary school. He, in amongst it, had plans to, become a mogul or something in the industry. Then found out, nope, somebody already did that. But apparently, the way he would tell it was he was a student or early graduate, brand new employees, really low level, and they were called to go take care of this death scene and pick up the body. And they get there and they go in and it's Marilyn Monroe. And they are barely in the room. And the FBI says, no, you're not doing this, get out of here. And they had their people who would do the examination because it obviously was not a natural death. And he would talk about, being on site with Marilyn Monroe. So he had experience in the mortuary field as well as everything else. And we would tease him, when we were talking about, well, what do you want, when you pass? His first choice, well, cremate me and spread my ashes with my dad's at the mine site. I said, that ain't gonna happen. We're Baha'is, we don't cremate, and I really don't want to go back to the mine site again. If anybody's interested, the Apache Chief is on a geocache site. It's very popular. You can get Jeep tours out to it. Fortunately, they now have the mine caged off as a safety issue. So I said, not going to happen. I thought, with him and his background, and he actually said some of this, he'd just soon be, in a trash bag on the side of the road and let him pick me up. I said, well, that ain't going to happen. But he tried. He tried really hard. The hat we don't have here is his green hat, a derby from Disneyland's opening day. He loved that hat. He would bring it out every year on St. Patrick's Day. So he happened to have passed on St. Patrick's Day to avoid going back to a care center for a few days for me to get some respite. On trash day. Said the only way it could be better is if Waste Management brought a truck out and picked him up and dropped him in the hole. You know? And he would appreciate all of that, I'm sure.
If nobody wants to share stories, you know, we might, it's personal, you know, and we might not want to in front of everybody. But Westcott is so kind and gracious. There's a memorial site for Larry on the Westcott website. So you guys can leave comments and stories later so Mom can go back and look. If you're just not thinking of anything right now, but you think of something later, you can always put it on Westcott's website for us to have later on. But we have put together a little slideshow of Larry's life. We got several pictures in there. So if you would like to move somewhere you can get a good view, it'll be on this wall over here.